Hello everyone, it's Jen from Old Tinker Studio. In this tutorial, we will be learning how to rig and animate cartoon eyes using shape keys in Blender 2.9. So let's get on with the tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to rig and animate cartoon eyes using shape keys in Blender. This tutorial uses Blender 2.9, but you can also follow along in Blender 2.83. I would recommend watching my shape keys video before continuing with this tutorial. We will first model a simple cartoon style eye. Delete the default cube and add a UV sphere. This will be our eye. Rotate the eye around the x-axis 90 degrees and rename the UV sphere to eye.r in the outliner. Apply the rotation using Ctrl A. Add a new material called eye and make the entire eye white. Right click on the eye and shade smooth. Tab into edit mode. Select the center two rings of faces. Duplicate them. Then separate the selection using the P key. Tab back into object mode. Select the duplicated faces and rename them eye_iris.r. Tab into edit mode. Add a new material called pupil. And assign a black color to the inner ring of faces. Select the ring of faces around the pupil. Add a new material called iris. And assign a color to the faces. I'm going to use the hex code E75056. Tab back into object mode. Now we'll make the eyelids. Add a second UV sphere. Rotate the eyelids around the x-axis 90 degrees. Apply the rotation using Ctrl A. Temporarily hide the eye and the iris and rename the sphere to eyelid.r. Tab into edit mode. In wireframe mode, select the top half of the eyelid. Then separate the selection using P. Tab into object mode and go back into solid view. Rename the top half to eyelid_top.r and rename the bottom part of the eyelid eyelid_bottom.r. Add a new material called eyelid and assign a color to one of the eyelids. I'm using the hex code 999E7. Select the other eyelid and assign the same color using the drop-down menu beside the new material button. Select an eyelid and add a solidify modifier. Change the offset value to 1, so the solidify modifier will add thickness to the outside of the eyelid. And change the thickness to the desired value. I'm going to change mine to 0.1. Apply the modifier. And repeat this process for the other eyelid. Select both of the eyelids, right-click, and choose Shade Smooth. Then unhide the other objects. Select the eye, the iris, and both lids, and duplicate them. And then move the duplicates to the right. Then rename the duplicates with a .L at the end. Now we will set up the shape keys for the right eyelids. Select the top eyelid of the character's right eye and open the Shape Keys tab. Click on the plus button to add a basis shape key. This is our basic shape key. Add a second shape key and rename it blink_top.r. Tap into edit mode. Then rotate the eyelid around the x-axis. And move the eyelid back along the y-axis to align it with the eye. Tab into object mode. And then change the value to see the eyelid move. Select the bottom lid of the character's right eye. Click on the plus button for the shape key. Then add a second shape key and rename it blink_bottom.r. Tap into edit mode. Then rotate the bottom eyelid around the x-axis. And then move the eyelid back along the y-axis to align it with the eye. Tab into object mode and change the value to see the eyelid move. Now we'll set up the shape keys for the left eyelid. Select the top eyelid of the character's left eye. Click on the plus button for the basis shape key. Add a second shape key and rename it blink_top.l. Tab into edit mode. Rotate the top eyelid around the x-axis. Then move it back along the y-axis to align it with the eye. Tab into object mode and change the value to make sure that the lid moves. Select the bottom eyelid of the character's left eye. Click on the plus button to add a basis shape key. Add a second shape key and rename it blink_bottom.l. Tab into edit mode. Rotate the bottom eyelid around the x-axis and move it back along the y-axis to align it to the eye. Tab into object mode. Change the value to make sure it's rotating. Now we'll set up the shape keys for the right eye. So temporarily hide the eyelids. Select the pupil and iris of both eyes. And move them in front of the eye, just enough so they're not touching the surface of the eye. This will help prevent clipping when we move the pupil and iris. Now select the character's right pupil and iris. Click on the plus button to add the basis shape key. Add a second shape key. Rename it iris underscore right dot R. Then add a third shape key and rename it iris underscore left dot R. Tab into edit mode. Select the iris underscore right dot R shape key. Turn on snapping. Choose face for the snap to. Use center and align rotation to target under snap width. Select the object and move it up and to the character's right, which would be your left. Now select the iris underscore left dot R shape key and move the object up and to your character's left, which would be your right. Tab into object mode and make sure that both shape keys are working. Now I do have a little bit of clipping, but for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm not going to worry about it. Now select the character's left pupil and iris. Click on the plus button to add the basis shape key. Add a second shape key. Rename it iris underscore right dot L. Add a third shape key. Rename it iris underscore left dot L. Tab into edit mode. Select the iris underscore right dot L shape key. Select the object and move it up and to the character's right, which would be your left. Select the iris underscore left dot L shape key and move the object up and to the character's left, which would be your right. Tab into object mode and make sure that both shape keys are working. Now we'll make a very simple blink animation. Under the animation workspace, select the top right eyelid. And add a keyframe on frame 1 using the value for the blink underscore top dot R shape key. Just click on the dot to the right. Move to frame 10. Using the value of the shape key, change the value to 1. And add a keyframe by clicking on the diamond to the right. Then repeat this process for the rest of the eyelids. Now on frame 1, select the right iris and pupil. Select the iris_right.r shape key and add a keyframe for the value. On frame 15, change the value to 1 and add a keyframe. On frame 15, select the iris_left.r shape key and add a keyframe for the value. On frame 25, change the value to 1 and add a keyframe. On frame 35, change the value to 0 and add a keyframe. Then repeat this process for the left pupil and iris. Select the top right eyelid and copy the keyframes from frame 10 onto frame 35. On frame 45, change the value to 0, add a keyframe. Then repeat this process for the other eyelids. Now change your end frame to 45 and play the animation. In order to render the animation, open the Output Properties tab. Choose a file format under the Output section. A PNG sequence is best in most cases because if Blender crashes, you won't lose the entire render sequence. Choose a place to save the render to. Save your Blender file. Under the Render menu, choose Render Animation. We will now use the video sequencer to export the video. Change the timeline to the video sequencer. Under the Add menu, choose Image/Sequence and import your PNG images. Change the settings in the Output section of the Output tab. We now need a video format. I'm going to use the FFmpeg. For the encoder, I'm going to use MPEG 4. Then under the View menu, choose Sequence Render Animation to render the video. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.